Hi, everybody. Welcome to a quick insights review, continuing the journey. I thought this brief webinar would be a really good resource for those that have participated in the Insights profile and for those veterinary clinics where we have done some training about the color preferences. I think given what's going on today with the pandemic and all of the changes in different operating processes that have gone on in veterinary clinics, it might be a nice review of the color preferences and how we can continue to leverage them and really improve our own communication strategies and working with others. So by way of a quick review, if you'll recall, there are 4 color preferences: fiery red, sunshine yellow, earth green, and cool blue. The fiery red preference it is illustrated by being bold and assertive, results driven, and determined, and action oriented. Those with an earth green preference are collaborative, encouraging, mentoring, patient, and relaxed. Those in the sunshine yellow wheel preference are sociable, they're dynamic, they're enthusiastic, they're demonstrative, and they're persuasive. And those in the color blue preference are analytical, precise, cautious, and detail-oriented. And if you remember in our conversations in the past, this is what the cool blue energy looks like on a good day. They're diligent, they're consistent, thoughtful, principled, and objective. And those in the fiery red on a good day are determined, focused, courageous, and purposeful. Those with a sunshine yellow preference on a good day are empowering, engaging, they're adaptable, they're dynamic. And those with the earth green preference on a good day are appreciative, they're valuing, they're service-oriented, they're respectful, and they're accommodating. But as we all know, we don't have good days every single day. And sometimes these color preferences can turn into too much of them. And this is what maybe a fiery red energy preference would look like on a bad day. They become overly direct, they make rash decisions, they take over, they're controlling, and they may dismiss others' opinions. Those that have an earth green energy preference on a bad day, they try to please everyone, they lose direction, they become indecisive, and they don't take a stand. The sunshine yellow energy on a bad day is they talk too much maybe, they lack focus, they lose interest, and they get sidelined. And those with a cool energy preference on a bad day can drown in detail, analysis paralysis, if you will. They overanalyze and they get stuck in an intellectual deadlock. And if you'll recall, this is a great example of how you use all 4 color preferences perhaps in the course of a day. And if you remember, one of the main takeaways from Insights is that we possess all 4 color energies within us. We tend to preferences in certain places, but we can use all 4. And this is an example where you would use your cool blue preference in the course of your workday in a veterinary clinic, for example. You have to review lab work, you've got to deal with financial stuff, and you use data to make diagnoses. Your fiery red may come out, you've got an emergency that comes in the door, you've got management issues, staff things you need to work on, and you need to exert your fiery red energy. Then, as we say, you've got to hop in and turn on your sunshine yellow with team building and pediatric visits. You've got a new puppy in the exam room. And then, as we know, and we've talked about, you go in the next exam room and you've got to turn on that earth green preference because of you've got a euthanasia, you've got to keep the team together, and you've got to coach clients through those the patients that may have sick visits and they've got really tough decisions to make. So the takeaway is you use all 4 color preferences throughout the course of the day. And as we know, this goes around the wheel. Also, a quick review as it relates to the work of Carl Jung is he talks about introversion and extroversion, thinking and feeling, and sensation and intuition. So if you'll recall, we have a color preference, but then we also layer in these additional pieces of the pie, if you will. So those in the extroversion side of the wheel, those would be the red and the yellow preferences, as you can see down the right side. And the introversion would be on the left side. And we understand the words associated with explaining an introvert and an extrovert. The introvert being thoughtful, cautious, quiet, inward focused. The extrovert is involved, gregarious, action-oriented, maybe outspoken or talkative. The other piece relates to your decision-making functions, and those would be related to thinking and feeling. And if you'll recall, the thinking is across the top of the wheel, the blues and the reds. They're analytical, they're detached, they're strong-minded, they're task-focused. Those on the lower half, the greens and the yellows, exert a feeling preference. They're harmonious, they're involved, they're informal, and they're relationship-focused. So we have thinking and feeling, and as we said, introversion is on the left side, extroversion is on the right side, thinking, and then we have feeling. And this plays into our color preferences and how we rotate through the color preferences, if you will, during the course of our workday as we communicate with others. So those thinking and feeling relationships, you can see there across the top, they more focus on results. In the lower half under the feeling preference, we'll focus on relationships. The perceiving functions include sensation and intuition. And if you'll recall when we went through some of this, this is the area where sensation or intuition can be experienced in each color preference. And that is, we could do another whole session on that, but that's an important takeaway is you could have sensation or intuition in each color preference. So how to communicate with a fiery red preference. Understanding this will help your relationships, whether they're in the workplace or your personal life. And those that have that fiery red preference, you need to remember to be direct and to the point, be confident, focus on results, and don't hesitate, be indecisive, or try to take over. Here are some effective listening tips for those that sit in the fiery red preference. And I think these are important to think through as you, again, are in the workplace and working with clients or other employees. And that's to remember to stay in the moment, not 5 tasks ahead. So you may be listening to somebody and you're thinking, well, I got to do this in the next 30 minutes, or what are they saying to me? The key is to really focus on the tone and pace and look for body language when you are listening to somebody. And don'ts related to this, try not to cut the other person off, and don't assume you know what they're going to say, which goes back to staying in the moment and staying focused on what they are communicating to you. How to communicate with someone in an earth green preference. Remember to be patient and supportive. Ask for their input before making a decision. This is a big point with an earth green preference. Ask for their opinion and give them time to answer. But don't take advantage of their good nature. Don't push them to make quick decisions, and don't tell, instruct, or command someone with an earth green preference. Focus on the do's, which is being patient, supportive, and including them in the decision. So for those that sit in the earth green preference part of the wheel, here are some listening tips for you when you are interacting with the other colors on the wheel. And that is also to stay present. Don't get caught up in the wait. How does this affect me? Stay open and don't make assumptions as you're listening to someone communicate with you. And an important piece, and I think this could be one that's used in every color preference, and that's to clarify instead of making assumptions to avoid distractions. Maybe repeat what someone said to you so you can process it and then properly communicate with that person. And don't become preoccupied with your own thoughts. And I think that goes back to the getting distracted and how does that affect me? So the key is to stay open and don't make assumptions. So how to communicate with someone with a sunshine yellow preference? Do focus on being friendly and sociable. They like to know how you're doing and what might be going on in your life. Be engaging, be open, be flexible. Don't bore them with details. Don't tie them down with a routine. And don't ask them to work for long periods of time by themselves. Effective listening tips for a sunshine yellow preference. So those of you that sit in the sunshine yellow preference, remember to provide feedback, but don't interrupt. Try to stay on track and avoid temptation to make something more interesting. Keep the conversation on what the topic is about, and that goes back to staying focused. And try not to dominate the conversation. We love the outgoingness of our sunshine yellows, but we have to remember how to stay connected to the person with which you're speaking. So how to communicate with someone with a cool blue preference. Remember to be well prepared and thorough. They like things, details. Let them consider all the details. Put things in writing if you can. But don't be over emotional and exaggerate. They want the specifics. They want to be able to analyze what you're telling them. And don't be careless or casual with those important issues or details. And don't keep changing things without good reason. So the point is to stay focused with what you're communicating and be prepared and thorough. So those that sit in the cool blue preference, here are some effective listening tips for you. Do be aware of your biases. You may want to analyze what someone's telling you right away without completely listening. Learn to ask more open-ended questions rather than those questions that get you specific short answers, yes or no maybe. Ask more open-ended questions that will allow for more conversation within the communication. And consider planning the response after the person speaks, not during. Again, the key takeaway with all of these colors is to stay focused and listen to what the person is saying that is speaking with you or communicating with you. Don't become preoccupied with your own thoughts. And consider not answering questions with more questions. That continues to push the conversation, if you will, down the road sometimes. This is a really great handout. I will make sure there's a link for you all to get a copy of this. But it's a really great summary of the 4 color preferences. Really quickly, the cool blue, give me the details. Earth green, show me you care. Fiery red, be brief, be bright, be gone. And sunshine yellow means involve me. So your journey always continues with insights. There's always something new we can continue to learn, and that's the beauty of it. So I hope that you got something out of a really quick review of the color preferences and how they can continue to serve you in the workplace. Thank you very much for your participation. And as always, reach out to me if I can help you with anything. Thanks.